Today we have our friends Tom and Colleen over at Makey Makey, one of our partners, and they're going to be talking to us about what we can do with Makey Makey besides the banana piano. Say that 10 times fast. I couldn't even say it one time fast. So beyond the banana piano. But before I turn things over to them, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. So first and foremost, I have everybody muted. Try and keep yourself muted throughout the presentation. If you do have questions, and we most definitely welcome questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and use that group chat window, put the questions in there, and then the three of us will be monitoring them throughout the presentation. And I, especially when there's kind of an opportunity for me to interrupt, they take a breath, whatever the case may be, then I will get those questions out there and we'll get those answered for you. So that'll just help things move along smoothly. And then next, make sure you stay till the end of the presentation, because at the end in that same chat window, I will post the link for PDHs for today. So everybody who joins us live today will get a PDH for being here. So just click that link, fill out the information. I think we do a little bit of back and forth on emails with that, and we'll get you credit for joining us today. And that link will be available till midnight tonight. And then let's see, last but not least, I've got a few more announcements at the end, but that's about it, I think. So without further ado, I know everybody wants to hear from Colleen and Tom and not me, so I'm going to turn things over. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to turn off my video so that they're front and center. And again, any questions, put them in the chat window. But Tom and Colleen, have at it. Thank you for coming today. We are so appreciative, and we're looking forward to this one.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, if anyone, we figured this out on our last Zoom, so in case you guys don't know, you can actually change the toggle window at the top of your view. So if you want to see less, you can click on the big box and only see the one thing, or you can click on the 4 little tiles and see me and Tom. Otherwise, you know, you don't have to look at us if you don't want to. I also already had the I had a sick kid at home today, so I'm a little bit off. That's gonna be my explanation for the bad jokes. Actually, the dad jokes are normal, so I'll take that back. But I have this slide up too for the Build Your Thursday workshop. I can bring it back up later if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, let's bring that back up at the end if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, just checking. We are here today to talk about Makey Makey. The important thing for us to know is how many of you have already used Makey Makey in your classroom. So if you can do a show of hands, there should be a button where you can raise your hand, and right now I can't remember where it is. Is it there?
Where is that? You could also, if you'd like, put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, you could just put it in the chat. Tom and I do Zoom webinars every month, but we took a break during Christmas and now we forgot how to use it. So, all right. So I wanted to share kind of this image of our Sketch It, Play It. Good, I like this. Now everyone's telling us. So we're seeing that we have new people. We have some people who've done some things. I know we have one person on here who has the Makey Makey t-shirt because she told me she liked my t-shirt already. But we are a little invention kit. I think we're different than the other STEM products because Tom and I also just recently went to BET where we saw lots of shiny, new, pretty things. And what we have noticed in our own sharing of project ideas and then looking at going to other things is that we are really an invention kit that focus on getting kids and adults to be creative with your everyday stuff, with normal stuff. So like this drawing is just a pencil drawing with alligator clips clipped to a pencil drawing. And we believe the world is a construction kit and that everyone can embrace their own creative confidence by learning through play. That's our big thing. So we really just want you to have the Makey Makey and then find stuff around your house to use with it, which I think is a little bit different because most people are like, buy this, now buy that, now buy that. And we're not really on that model. We're really like, want you to look at the world around you and see it as something you can change. See it as a reformable thing. because we think students can create inventions out of everyday stuff like cardboard and pencil drawings. And then they can use Makey Makey as the digital duct tape to connect it to this physical invention they've created on the computer. So like they would create something in Scratch, or they could create something with Python if they wanted to. And then they connect that to this drawing, and suddenly they have created their own invention. So they can invent online apps, they can make Scratch projects, they could actually make games in MakeCode Arcade and play them with Makey Makey inventions. And so they can create physical hardware out of cardboard that complements their online creations. And that's why I think we're just a little bit different. I say the other word I've been using lately is we're kind of scrappy. I don't know if that's a good word or bad word, but I think it defines me as a person too, so I'm kind of okay with it. So what is a Makey Makey? Tom, what is this thing?
Well, when I look at a Makey Makey, I like to refer to it as the oddest looking keyboard you will ever see, because and I know that we've got a slide coming up about that, but a lot of people, when they look at a game, look at a Makey Makey, one of the first things that comes to mind is that it looks like a game controller, something approachable. And that's actually one of the brilliant pieces about the design of the Makey Makey, is that it is designed to look approachable as opposed to, I guess, something that is scary. However, I will say that there are still some that look at this and say, oh yeah, especially the back side of the board. Oh my gosh, look at all that, you know. So we call this the front. Scary. Yeah. So we call this the back side of the board. And the back side of the board has a few more functions, but it's pretty much operates the same way once you get this one basic idea down, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, so if we want to, we can even explain that a microcontroller, which is what a Makey Makey is, microbit is also a microcontroller. A microcontroller has a function in life. Your keyboard that you have on your computer, its function is to be a keyboard. Your mouse, its life job is to be a computer mouse. So if you look at the back of the Makey Makey and you see this chip that looks like a little bug with silver lines coming out of it, that is the brains of the Makey Makey. And that is what, when you plug the Makey Makey into your computer, it tells your computer to be a keyboard. So Makey Makey has two basic functions that make it kind of interesting that you have to understand and your students have to understand before you can start making inventions. And I think the first thing that you have to understand, I guess you might probably have to understand the keyboard as the first thing, but the other thing you have to understand is that everything in the world is either conductive or an insulator. And so I recently made this project. I actually have the Is It Conductive as a station in another project, but it felt buried. So I recently made this guide that's just for testing items and seeing if they're conductive. And I actually have this code here in person right now. I guess I could play the video because it explains, sometimes video doesn't work. So if it's really bad, you guys tell me. It's only like 30 seconds anyway. But if it's too laggy, I'll just explain in words without my video. But I kind of enjoy this video that I made though. And you may not be able to hear it, I just realized. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay, so I'll just stop. So you test to see if it's conductive by putting something over the lines. It's really hard to talk and hear yourself talking. So one line is connected to a key, and one is connected to earth, and any item you test on it will tell you if it's conductive or not. So a sponge is not conductive, but when I put a little water on it, it is conductive, right? So that's one way to start kids with Makey Makey, is just seeing what actually is conductive. By doing this, you don't have to do it on a coat, on a fancy coat like I've done it. The other part of the guide shows this actually as just a piece of cardboard, but it's a very unique device that allows you to create a different output that designs like a text and a printer. So you can kind of think of a musical instrument and sound, right? A musical instrument makes sound. So this is a device that tells me if things are conductive, that's what I've invented. And I'll actually go out and share that link with you in a second. And that idea of being able to create hardware that goes with my software, my computer, is part of our co-founders' big idea of invention literacy, which means that you have the ability to read inventions so that you can create new inventions. So I like to say, when I teach this to students, you can create new stuff because you know how old stuff works. And then you can just take old stuff and kind of change it. So that's a really important fundamental concept that you have to grasp. Now I'm feeling like I deleted all my keyboard keys, but Tom just started talking about keyboard keys before we got there on the slideshow, so I think it's okay. So invention
Colleen, I posted the link to the Is It Conductive lesson.
Oh, you already did it. Thank
Yeah.
you. You're so awesome, Tom. Tom's really good at monitoring the chat, you guys. So invention literacy is really important. When I've actually taught in the classroom for 15 years, and I did invention literacy as a research project the last 4 of them, and I didn't do it strictly to Makey Makey. I did it for other things too, but I did it kind of as a maker research project where we researched an invention and we would actually go and do real research on that, like looking up how something works. And then students would create their own version with the maker supplies that we had at my library. So I can post on my blog, some of my blog posts of things that they made. And that actually relies on, when we're using Makey Makey, we're actually doing something called physical computing. So physical computing sounds scary, but it's not. It's actually the idea of combining things in the real world with actions on your computer. And that's what a Makey Makey does. So Makey Makey relies on physical actions and everyday objects. And those everyday objects trigger something to happen on your computer. So it's kind of the gateway drug to physical computing. And that's why I like to call I know I'm just bad today. That's why I like to call Makey Makey digital duct tape. I actually got that from Jay Silver. And I like the idea of it because it kind of really gives you that scrappy idea of like, I can take anything and control my computer with it. So you've probably seen people playing the banana piano, and that's because they are playing the keys left, up, right, down, and space. And those keys in the app, the piano app, are programmed to make piano sounds. So here you don't have bananas. This is a student playing a piano, drawing piano, but same thing. So this is where I'm going to let Tom talk about how the keyboard controls your computer. So it's the same as just you're controlling your computer this way, but it's also controlling your computer with bananas or drawings. But you had to do that first step where you saw what is conductive, so you know what items can be in your invention.
So Colleen mentioned, I like this slide that she has there, that kind of showing that the keyboard equates to the Makey Makey, because on my keyboard here, I have the arrow keys right here, up, down, left, and right, which map directly to the Makey Makey there. So in other words, if I see something on a screen, and I'm going to post a link here to this a piano program. And if you open that link, you'll be seeing the same link that I'm looking at. And if you were right now to, while you're sitting at your computer, play this piano by just pushing your arrow keys, which I can do myself. As I play this, I can hear the piano in my ears. So I can play that piano with these arrow keys, and I can connect my Makey Makey to my computer. I'm talking to you right now on an iMac. I have a Chromebook sitting right here. And it really doesn't matter what computer you connect it to, Chromebook, Mac, Windows computer, a Raspberry Pi, as long as that computer says, recognizes key strokes, you can plug the Makey Makey in, and then boom, the computer says, oh, this is an external keyboard. And any functionality that I have out of the mouse or the keyboard, I can actually use the Makey Makey to do the same. So right. I push these keys, it plays the piano on my keyboard. I push the arrow keys on the Makey Makey with this one important twist. And Colleen alluded to this. With the Makey Makey, if I was to just play with my hands, I have to, well, like on my left hand, I would hold the Makey Makey. This is where Colleen, I should have a Makey Makey with me, but I would hold the Makey Makey in one hand, my left hand along the earth, and then with my other hand, I could touch the arrow keys. And because my body is conductive, and Colleen's going to get her Makey Makey, I'm gonna have to run and get mine. I can't believe I forgot mine. I can play the same thing just using my body. Yes.
Yeah, this one looks a little confusing, but if these little silver strips were all bananas, it's the same thing. This is earth, and each of these is a key. So I could play my piano on this cardboard, or I could hold it with my hands. That's what Tom's saying. And then I can actually press, here's earth, and then I'm still pressing like this. So I think that's really what makes, you're changing the signal that's being sent to your computer, right? You're changing the signal. The input is no longer your finger pressing a key, which is actually a switch. It's instead, now the switch is you. Actually, I think the next slide does this. I'm gonna go, oh no, where'd that one? The thing that makes Makey Makey so magical and makes the banana piano so magical is that you're holding one thing and now you're the computer keyboard touching the banana, right? So the computer thinks you're pressing a key, but you're really touching a banana. And it feels like magic to tap a banana and hear piano sounds. So that's why you see so many banana pianos. Right, Tom?
And what's funny is that if you're wondering where the banana piano came from, I'll throw up a link here in a second to the what's referred to as the Kickstarter video, which came out like 7 years ago for Makey Makey. And there is one brief moment in that video of someone touching bananas to play a piano. And out of all the things on that Kickstarter video, that is the one thing that just really resonated with people. They were like, what?
And actually, to even tell another story about that, Bo Silver, Jay's brother, created this long video, and we could look it up and share it. It's really fun. And he programmed, he actually used a MIDI controller, so he didn't use Scratch and he didn't have our banana app, or piano app, excuse me. And he actually programmed bananas and he played them for like his dissertation at college. And he like eats a banana to make sound, and that's just so fun. So to get back to the other important concept is that a switch, which is what your keyboard is actually doing, is opening and closing a switch. Opening, closing a circuit, excuse me. So I did talk about the is it conductive. This is like the Valentine version. And I think I'll stop sharing so that my video of me comes really big for a second. Does that help you guys see it a little bigger? And this is the same activity, but just done all the way as a paper circuit. So if I cross the lines, here's my space key and here's my earth key, then the light lights up. And this is just a paper version of the other. And doing a circuit with tape and LEDs, some people, this is like the tinkering is in getting it right. And what happens often is that somewhere those two lines cross and you short your circuit and you feel like you failed as a teacher or as a student. You're like, I can't get this LED to light up. What I often see people do is put this tape all the way across. So if I had put this tape all the way across, in fact, if I use my fingers, I might be able to short it out. Oh, no, I can't. I was going to try. If you do that, electricity is lazy. Electrons are lazy. And they'll just go all the way through instead of coming up through the LED. So why this circuit works is that the circuit is able to be closed because it's going up through the LED and lighting the LED. So I thought it would be really fun to show the light switch trick. And that is that right now my light switch is on. And when I place it here on the is it conductive spot, you can see it's on. But I flip the switch off, and now it's on, and now it's on. So Makey Makey actually, and if I have to hold it really well, Makey Makey actually works by completing that circuit just the way a light switch works. So now let's move on. I think we've talked about the big basic components, and I'll get back to my beautiful slideshow that I know you all are just waiting to see them again. Here we go.
Oh,
so it works the same way.
Amazing. Look at those slides.
But what is really fun, and I think it's the move that Tom and I really like to promote, is making your creations go a little bit further with Scratch. And we're actually working on looking at other platforms that you can code in. It doesn't have to be Scratch. So it felt like last year, no one realized they could connect Scratch and Makey Makey projects. And now we're getting that to happen. But I feel like we also need you to understand that anything you can control your keyboard, you can control with Makey Makey. So you can create a Python project and you can create a processing project. And I know those are probably like things that you're not doing, but if you're in a computer science class, there are lots of things that you can code with Makey Makey. And I just saw that code.org also has a place where you can make projects now. So you should be able to use Makey Makey and code.org. It doesn't always have to be sound inputs, but that is the logical place people like to start. So this is one of the projects I did when I first started using Makey Makey that I thought was really, really cool. And it's kind of a play on Sketch It, Play It. So Sketch It, Play It is where you might have your students actually draw a piano and then connect it to that piano app. But then the next step is to go into Scratch and have them draw something that they need to program to actually explain how something works. So this is just drawings of different types of triangles. And I kind of made the Scratch project as a game where it says like, you know, where is the acute triangle? And you have to go and physically touch the acute triangle. So when I made all these triangles, I learned more about triangles. It's just like one of those really obvious things where just doing it, just the physical activity of drawing the triangles and then having to code them to say the right thing helped me learn more about triangles because I had forgotten in all those years. You can also make a large scale piano. I'm going to try. I really wish, you know what? I'll just copy the link. Look at that. And we can put it in there and y'all can watch it later. Although, Tom, I can't find the chat now. I got it.
Where is the
I
chat?
got it. I got it. All right. So, and this is a large scale piano. It works the same way as this cardboard thing I showed you, really. Earth is where my heel of my foot is on this computer screen. I like how I'm pointing with my hand, like you guys can see my hand. And then each silver key here, that's just a big piece of tin foil. And that is also a project that you can do with your students to help them learn about completing the circuits. These are two really cool projects. One is a book cover project done by Fraser. Remember Fraser that we met in England? Yeah,
yes.
He's a really cool guy. He teaches after school at a place called Signals, and he had students make interactive art inspired by books. And on the right, actually, this one is really cool. I'm going to let it play even though they're not able to hear it. They actually wired the circuit in a way so that you have to touch the physical parts of the book and the LEDs light up and tells the story in Scratch as they do it. So it's not just a sound effect. It's actually focusing on that drawing and finding different parts of the story. So it's a really interesting way to make books come to life, which actually happens here with the Makey Talking book too. Let me see if I can get that link in there because we know, I got watch later. I can't get it in there right now, but this is another great guide. Actually, I'm sorry, Tom. I can't do links and talk at the same time. But Tom made a really great version of this Brown Bear book that he had made too. That is really cool, but you're actually able to touch the book and hear the sounds of the animals. In the Makey Talking book by Nathan Seckinger, he has that actually read the story to kids. So that's pretty cool. On the left.
I'm going to put the Brown Bear link in the chat. But I did want to mention this interactive book idea. I first shared this actually at a conference, I think in California, in Anaheim in December. And if you want to, you can click on that link I just put in the chat. And I'm going to assume, Jenny, that we're going to be able to share all these links that we're sharing in the chat in the description of this video. But certainly for everybody here, there's a link to the Brown Bear book, interactive book. But I wanted to point this out that some educators, when they came by and they played with this book, they were like, oh, you know, isn't that cute? you know, I could see doing this for elementary school students. And yet, I think that when I set out to do this Brown Bear book, the thing that I wanted to do was to create a book that would challenge high school students to use a children's book, a board book, but to talk about the environment and environmental changes that are going on across the globe, and how those changes are impacting various species. So that's one of the things that I'd like to do. So in other words, you can use a project, the same project, in multiple ways. Like you could assign this same project to a group of high school students or middle school students, I guess, and have them talking about environment.
I found my links, but I can't find the chat window again. Hey, but I did turn on captions. I figured I had to turn on captions. There you go. I also, to piggyback on your idea about high school students, I did go pilot a project with, was it fifth grade? Fifth grade students making interactive literacy projects and interactive math projects for kindergarten students. And I'm actually going to go back to that school and pilot it again with a fourth grade, trying for a little bit higher grade, because kindergarten was maybe a bit too young. But I had them create interactive games where they made them with cardboard, and a lot of them made, like, you know, just letter identifying games, which were really cool to help kindergarten students either learn their letters, learn their vowels, learn more about math, do some simple math. And it was really, really cool to see that, because it's really a design thinking project in action where they saw a need to help little people like learn something, and they felt like they could actually help. So that was a really cool project for older kids. The secondary school project ideas that I have that are really cool, one of them, Tom and I are interviewing the teachers of this cash register on the right next week. So we'll have more information about it. But to talk about that first, on the right, what you see is the seniors of a math class were asked to design a cash register for special needs students that ran a cafe in the morning. So this is a cash register made with Scratch and Makey Makey, so that these students could actually run their cafe in the morning. They would know how much to charge. It would do the math for them. And if students paid with a certain amount of money, it would tell them how much change to give back. So in Scratch, the seniors were coding all of that math on the inside of that Scratch game, which you can't see, and then making it highly accessible with this, it's just a tinfoil cash register with tinfoil and drawings and illustrations. They actually sort of had a competition to see whose cash register would win, and this is the winning cash register. So we're going to talk to those. Out,
there's a cool feature that you may not be able to pick up in the photo, but they look like tinfoil balls that are, you know, a little bigger than a golf ball. But here's what's cool about this design is that they split the ball so look carefully at these photos, folks, because the ball is designed in such a way that one touch by the operator bridges the earth and the keystroke that it's assigned to. In other words, they don't have to think about how am I grounding myself. They just grab the ball. That's part of the design feature of this.
That's really cool.
I'm going to put up a link to a video of what we call the high five message, positive message, but it's the same concept of making grounding simplified.
It's the same as this too.
Yes.
It's just two circuit traces. We call these circuit traces in fancy microcontroller land. But the circuit traces are bridging them. That's actually the same way your keyboard works. So if my hand is the key on your computer, there is a graphite that is on the whole press of this, and there's air that keeps it from touching. But when I push down on my key, that's what's bridging the circuit on my keyboard and making it happen. So what Tom is saying is that this ping pong ball has the same thing. I can see it now. I didn't even notice that. Where there's just that gap of air. So there's not tinfoil, and then all they do is touch both, and that's making it go across. That's pretty cool. So these kids not only just figured that out, but like I actually did I did a calculator project where I coded a calculator for some oversized games that I did at my local elementary school, and coding a calculator is really hard. So this is really impressive work, because not only did they code the math for adding the food up, which that part's already hard, but the math for if they pay with a 5, how much change do I give them? Like, I just got high props for these kids. This is really cool. Oh,
and for me, the most exciting part is that, and this is one of our big messages with this webinar, is that beyond the banana, this is so much different than a banana piano. I don't want to knock a banana piano. I love playing banana pianos or other fruit. And with the same simple device, this Makey Makey, there are now students around the US, and we've got a friend in Canada, in Edmonton, who has middle school students designing solutions for their peers who have learning disabilities or physical challenges in the classroom. It's quite amazing when you have students doing real design work for real people in need. It's transformative for everyone, actually.
I'm going to come back slide, because you're actually talking about something that I thought was really cool that one of our ambassadors just did, and that was also about accessibility. So she wanted to do a project with first grade, and I'm not sure what design challenge she gave them. All I know is that she emailed me and said, my kids want to make a sign language board so that our student who doesn't have the ability to speak can share with us common sign language, and we can touch these touch points. And so I shared with her just this guide on how to change images with Makey Makey and Scratch, and she turned it into a video that shows that when they touch a certain thing, it animates how to say those words in sign language, which is also way beyond just a banana, right? So super cool concepts of making things more accessible for others. We have a webinar back on our, I'll post let's post a link to all the webinars, Tom, but we do have a webinar on accessibility, and that's the one with Tricia, but we also have one called Build a Better Book that's all about using maker technology to make a book more accessible for different types of learners. So not just learners who need to hear it, but even some where it's a physical sensation, where there are things that they have to touch to read a book, even though they can't see. So that's pretty cool. That was a really cool webinar that we did too. The other project on here isn't about accessibility, but it is kind of still I still think it's cool. It's a fraction generator. So you can actually generate fractions with Makey Makey once you learn about how to make those circuits. So what you're seeing actually are 4 different sensors on the measuring cup. And as you pour water into the measuring cup and those sensors are connected, then on Scratch, you can actually see I filled up a 1/4 the cup, I filled up a 1/2 the cup, I filled up 3/4 the cup. And if you know the math, you can also even code volume, which I think is pretty amazing. So we're really getting, it's really about combining coding and combining that knowledge of how sensors work. I think that's where we get beyond the banana. This is another really cool hashtag you guys should look up. This guy last year, John Lynch, was going to it's called Learn to Teach, Teach to Learn. It's in Boston. I don't know what you call this. It's like an after-school program kind of thing where kids learn how to teach things, and then they go out and they teach other kids how to do those things. And so what he did was he made some projects called Explode the Controller. And if you see the slap switch there on the bottom, that's that same concept Tom was talking about with High Five, where one of those washers is like space key and one of those washers is earth. As you slap them, you make a connection. And John is all about getting kids to be more physically active. So all of his projects are about making kids active. And he kind of inspired me, which I think isn't on here. My STEM in the Gym project isn't on here. I'll just go to it live here in a second so you can see it. But if you challenge kids to be active, so they built flat switches and they would put them in different places. And I always show this to my kids when I go do the STEM in the Gym challenge. If I put one switch way up high and one switch way down low, now I create a scoring mechanism in Scratch, and then I can see how many high jumps I can do versus how many squats I can do. And I can actually, you know, use math to motivate me to be more physically active. Kind of like this Apple Watch, right? That makes me go, hey, get up, go do something. It's kind of just the same idea. So these are really cool projects. He has a whole site out there we can lead you to too. Then the other project that we have, Tom, now you made me feel bad. I should have put the accessibility stuff last, because once I start talking about the accessibility stuff, I feel like everything else is just fun. But these interactive art ideas are also really engaging for students. So on the left is a project by my friend Josh Ajima in Virginia. And actually it's not by him, it's by his student. And it's called Peace at Rest. And I'm going to share the whole slide deck at the end here so you can go through and watch all the videos, because it isn't always helpful to watch the videos. But this kid coded mood, which I think is pretty cool. So he has just a controller that you touch, but as you touch the different buttons, it changes the mood of the windows. The images actually change inside the windows to either be dark and somber, or, you know, something, or happy and sunny. So that's kind of amazing too. So if you start getting kids to think about interactive art, you can get them to code mood for a story. That would be pretty amazing, especially if they're going through the plot outline of a story and saying, like, you know, here's the mood at the beginning of the story, the middle, and the end, and actually showing in Scratch like imagery that changes. That's kind of a cool concept. On the right is one of the projects I made for students. I did what was it called? I forgot what the whole thing was, Tom. Do you remember what I called it? It was a STEAM day.
Not the maze.
Right? Yeah, this is the maze, and it was a STEAM day event. So I made 4 oversized games. I think it was like a carnival, so I think that's why it was STEAM Carnival. I made 4 oversized games, and 2 of them actually I did not design, and 2 of them I did design. And this is one I designed, and I also designed that big calculator you play with your feet. This is a collaborative sensory maze, and what you see is 2 players. So there's 2 conductive paths. It still plays on the same concept of the 2 conductive paths, and one is Earth and one is space. And the kids have to connect to play. And as they walk along the conductive path, it plays the song, you know. And if they disconnect by hand, then the music stops and the game starts to fall. They lose points, and they have to quickly either have to start over, they have to touch hands again. And then also, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see there's footprints and handprints. That's what makes it a sensory maze. So they get to one part where they're walking kind of like a tightrope, and then now they have to make a decision. What am I supposed to do? Oh, I have to keep holding hands, but I also have to put a hand down on the mat. Oh, I have to walk on these parts. Which part is conductive and which part's not conductive? So they're playing with the notion of what is actually going to complete the circuit and what is not going to complete the circuit. How can they keep doing it together? And it really promotes not just communication, but also collaboration. Is that a good explanation of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this. So I want to take us out to Instructables, give you a tour of it, and actually show you, I want to show you some of those projects. And I want to take us to our webpage, because on our webpage, you can go see all the training that Tom does under educators. Tom has trained trainers around the world, and you can see all upcoming workshops down here. But you can also go to resources and how-to guides, or you can go to our Instructables hub there. And these are some of the projects I've been telling you about today. So like, here's the Sketch Play It, and here's that math science one where you draw it out. There's the really easy floor piano. And these are supposed to be, I'm going to tell you because this was my idea, that you would look at it and go, oh, here's where I start and how I keep going. So these are everyday inventing and where you start and kind of in that linear fashion. And then when you want to get to something a little bit more complicated, here's some harder ones. So here's that really big 4-piano project. And here is actually a roll-up foil maze. It's similar to what I did. I actually based my idea off of this by Fraser McKay. And then when you want to get more into tinkering with circuits, you can look at, like, here's how I use the back of the board. That Is It Conductive originally is inside this Tinkering with Circuits guide. This is this way that I taught circuits to 4th grade for the last few years. And it's just like 5 simple stations. It's one of my favorite things to do. And there's the Makey Makey Valentine that I just showed you. So that's a really good resource. And a resource that if you want to see what other teachers are doing, you can come over to our Instructables hub and you can see all the projects that teachers are doing. And some of these are pretty crazy cool. Like we just had Andrew McDonald, who I think is a Canadian educator, who posted this breadboard thing. And breadboards for me are like pieces of bread. That's my bad pun joke, but I have to go find that tweet that I sent. I was like, how's this for breadboarding? And I used a bread to make a switch. And these are all really, some of them are in other languages because they're people from all over the world that share them. And I want to show you this in the gym because it's kind of a cross between the accessibility challenge and the literacy challenge, because STEM in the Gym was based on, like I said, John's idea, but also Eric, who we did interview, Eric Turrell, who is also, we're going to do a webinar with him a little bit later through Unruly Splats, I think in March. I guess that's next month. Tom, that's next month.
I know.
But STEM in the Gym is like it's a Genius Hour project. So I went to school and I had the kids design, where's my word? Oh, there it is. This is the problem. Video games are sedentary. How might we design a game to get kids to be more active? And then I shared these examples of different projects you might do to get kids more active. And I had students make their own inventions for others. So I will play a little bit of this. And again, I'm gonna have to turn my own sound down so I don't hear myself, I think. Oh wait, I can mute it. So I taught them how to make a switch. We played with all the pianos. It is really important. There's the piano. It is important to always be silly. So we did Orbeez. Orbeez are like the best for teaching kids because they're water, but they're not water. And then we made switches. And then I taught them how to create scores in Scratch. And then they made these huge dance pads. So then they made their own games. So this one game, let me get to it. This is kind of like a Twister version of games. It's called Shapes. After they made all the huge games, we shared them with school, and that's my daughter. But here is me and the 4th grade teacher playing Shapes. So Scratch would say the shape, and then we had to touch the shape with our feet. So in the center is Earth, and we're touching all the different shapes to see who can score better. So that's one game that the kids made. This game is one where you're like playing a cat that's the jumping, and they just have the jumping. But the other one that's really crazy cool, if I can get to it, is this. This was a soccer game to see if you could get. That's the one I want to show you. This was my favorite because only a 3rd grader can design something like this. This is a bongo relay race. So the kids have to hit the bongo as much as they can, and then in Scratch, this 3rd grader actually made a timer that said next, and then you had to jump up and run and tap the player behind you to come up and play the bongos. So the imagination comes from kids when you let them loose is amazing, right? So what we want to see, Tom and I, is you starting with that banana piano and then moving to like the projects where you're doing something a little bit more simpler and graduating to some kind of design challenge where you're actually letting kids go hog wild with the idea that they have, because that's where the magic happens, right? When we challenge a kid, I want you to make a game to make everyone in your school physically active. And they actually made whole grade levels come and test their games, that builds confidence in a kid. And that also lets the younger students who might have played, or even the same age of students, they say they all came through and they went, I want to do this project. When do I get to make an invention for the other kids in my school to play? So this is where we want to see them. This and the challenging them to make things more accessible for others, because what we see, even as a company, as educators ourselves, is that, you know, our students are lacking empathy, right? Like that's why social emotional learning is so big right now. We're kind of missing out on that. So we want to see kids really connecting with other kids. And that's one reason we like when people still make something where you have to physically connect, because we're kind of losing our physical connections, right? So sorry, I just went on a super tangent there.
Well, I do want to, we were 10 minutes before the hour. I want to make sure that we leave enough time for questions.
Yeah, we're at the end. This is the end.
Yeah, I'm going to share one other link. I'm not going to go into it very much, but Colleen reminded me of it. Okay. I'm going to add it here to the chat. It's a video that's well worth watching at your leisure. This is a group of high school students. They're seniors in Philadelphia who each year are given a project LEO. LEO stands for Love Each Other. The students have to find a way to engage, cause the rest of the students to engage with each other in a new and surprising way. And,
I just realized that no one saw when I was showing that stuff, did they?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
on my computer, it looks like it's only recording that one page. It didn't show the actual video I was showing.
Oh, I was able to see it.
Okay. Well, I hope it did.
But Project Leo, take a look. It's what Colleen was just describing, which is this idea of putting out a design challenge and then seeing what happens. Of course, there's building blocks to get up to that skill level. If you just one day go out and you know, say I want you to do this design challenge without any basis from which to work on, whether it's Makey Makey or anything else, it can be really difficult. But if you have the building blocks that Colleen and I have been sharing through this webinar, for me, the exciting part is to do what Colleen did with these third graders. Isn't that amazing? The bongo drums, I just love that, because like Colleen said, I don't think there's any adult who would have said, oh, bongo drums relay race.
Bongo
no.
relay? Yeah.
But it's so great. The kids own that invention, and that's a legit invention. I've never seen it. And then they see their peers using this. And of course, there's always the iterative process typically when students, whenever they're engaged in real design, they put it out into the world, the natural thing that happens is they get feedback and from their peers or just watching, and it could be, you know, now that I see how people want to use this thing, I'm going to make these changes, and then they can reuse it another time.
Did you share that link, Tom?
The STEM in the Gym, yes, I did.
Oh, look, I found where you can raise your hand. No, I mean, did you share the Project Leo link? Because I'm still trying to.
Yes, I shared the Project Leo. And so we have a question.
We have two questions, actually. Go before your Project Leo.
Oh, okay. Is there an intro video to explain how the circuits work and how earth, conductive insulator material play a role in all of these inventions?
That's the that's basically the Is It Conductive project right now.
Yep, and I shared the Is It Conductive link earlier there, and I'm gonna.
And I will go through link. And I will add all these links to the email that I send out tomorrow, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. So I'll make sure that everybody gets all these links as well.
And then another question is, any suggestions on what basic materials it would be good to have in stock? Tinfoil, Play-Doh, conductive tape, lights.
Watch this, you guys. I have the best blog post. I don't know how to erase the annotation I did. On our page, I've written so many blogs, and before me, someone wrote a lot of blogs. And I think that information has gotten somewhat buried because unless you're a librarian who knows how to search for things, you may not know it's there. So we're working on kind of our architecture of our navigation. But if you ever wonder something like that, you can hit the search and look. And I wrote a blog one week called "What Are Your Favorite Conductors?" Not Bach and Brahms and those kind of conductors, but items that you can use for activity. Yeah, I told you beat it by bad jokes. Bad jokes. Here is a post. I will share it in chat because I finally found the chat window again of our favorite items that are conductive. So actually behind me in these little red jars are all my favorite things that are conductive. So what I have on hand every day, obviously, are my alligator clips hanging here, but I always have safety pins, binder clips, washers, thumbtacks, some bolts, and quarters, like loose change. So those are some of my favorite things, and obviously aluminum foil. I actually have the kitchen type of tin foil. So I'm going to show you this because as teachers, you're going to want this over the other tin foil where you have to cut it out. You can buy these on Amazon. They're like foil sheets, or you can raid them from the cafeteria. This is the same way they have them in the cafeteria. And then you just have a foil sheet that's really easy to make into a switch. And it's already pre-cut instead of like having that sharp thing on your tin. The other thing that's really fun about tinfoil is you can cut it into any shape you want and use the glue stick to adhere it to your invention, and you've now got custom made whatever you want to have. What was the other question?
Well, I know that, Jenny, we've got to leave time for your wrapping up.
Yeah. Ooh. But
well, we're good with questions too. One just came through. Can we make our own conductive jackets with specific Makey Makey images using a Cricut machine, or is that something we can buy somewhere?
Well, right now it's not something you can buy somewhere, but it is. The design files for this are in that is a conductive guide that Tom shared at the beginning. I've shared all these. I shared all these files. I didn't share the actual Makey Makey board, but there is a conductive wording, and the words makeymakey.com are there. If you email me, I'll send you the SVG file. We have just had recently a problem with people making fake Makey Makeys and selling them to teachers for a lower cost, and then we're getting questions and support about them because it's not designed as ours, but we didn't make it. So it's really this kind of weird thing. So we're a little hesitant to put some things out there because of that. Do you have something better to say about that, Tom?
Well, yeah, we here at Makey Makey call them fakey fakies, and they are problematic because sometimes the soldering isn't as good, the programming of the chip isn't the same, and the other problems are the USB cable doesn't work. So we've seen, and the teachers who buy them come to us saying, "Hey, what's going on?" And then when we find out,
they bought a fake.
Yeah, because they've gone to Amazon looking for Makey Makeys, and they end up buying them from unreputable people. So there are problems, but we've got a post that Colleen is working on that is going to help you identify whether a Makey Makey is real or not.
Yeah. And I need to go back to this workshop that you're having next week. There you go. Build Your Thursday workshop. Did you want to talk about that? How do I clear this? Here.
I'm trying to, hold on a second. I'm trying to get my camera back on.
Oh, okay. Heather Giles is having a learning. Makey Makey. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, so Thursday at our conference IdeaCon. So if you are interested in more about Makey Makey, Heather Giles, who's actually one of the participants today. So hi, Heather. She is doing a workshop at our IdeaCon conference on the Build Your Thursday workshops called Learning with Makey Makey. Heather is actually one of our IDEA trainers who's gone through a training session with Tom and is an official Makey Makey trainer here in the state of Illinois. We actually do have trainers located throughout the state of Illinois. So if you are ever interested in hosting a workshop in your area, please contact us and we'll be happy to set that up with you. But if you'd like to register for this workshop, you can go to bit.ly/IdeaCon, IDEA caps, con small case. I did, and I accidentally hit send already, but I did put a link in the chat window with the with that information on there. So go ahead and check that out. And then if you want to flip back to the end.
There we go.
So before I get to that, I just want to thank Colleen and Tom for the awesome information today. Makey Makey is one of those fun things to do besides the fabulous learning. So these are always great webinars. Thank you for doing this with us today. We do offer Wednesday webinars every Wednesday. So next Wednesday, actually, we have a webinar with our partner technology resource advisors, and we're going to be talking about what ed tech leaders need to know about school cybersecurity. So a little bit different than today's topic, but you can register for that webinar. There's the bit.ly on the screen, or simply go to our website, ideaillinois.org, go to the events page, and you can register there. Two more things before, I know we're just a minute here past, but tomorrow I will be sending an email to everybody who registered for the conference today. In that email will be the recording of today's webinar. I have been recording it. And then I will also put a link to the slide deck that Colleen and Tom shared today. So you will have both those things. And then as promised, I will also go through all of the the group chat and get all those links that Tom and Colleen were awesome enough to share in the chat, and make sure that you guys have all that as well. So you don't need to go start saving everything on your screen. I will make sure all those links go in there. And Tom and Colleen, if you have any more that you want to make sure that everybody has, please go ahead and email me those tonight, and I will make sure that everybody gets those as well. And beyond that, if you are ever looking for other Makey Makey stuff, we do have a page on our website as well under the Learn tab dedicated to Makey Makey. So if you're ever looking for what workshops we're offering or other webinars or anything else like that, go to that web page and you'll get that information there as well. So if there's any other questions, I haven't been checking as I've been talking. So anything else come through that's pertinent, guys?
Thanks, everybody. And Heather said she's really excited about seeing all the things that you guys create. And Tom and I are really excited too. Reach out to us anytime at support@joylabs.com, and you can send us things that you're doing in your class. It might come our next webinar. It might become our next blog post, but we just love sharing the things that you do in the classroom because we appreciate you do so much, because Tom and I both have classroom teachers, and we know how difficult it is and how fun it is too, because I still go to classrooms as often as I can. I just don't have to do it every day.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Regardless of whether you're a Makey Makey user or not, the work that you're doing is so important. The fact that you show up every day working with kids, you're my hero, our hero. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Hopefully we will see you guys next week on the next Wednesday webinar. Are you at IdeaCon every day? Tom and Colleen will not be at IdeaCon, but Heather, I don't know if Heather, you're still on. Are you going to be there every day? Otherwise, definitely look for me or anybody in the IdeaCon committee, and we will get you in touch with one of our trainers if you have specific questions for sure.
I will be there
Awesome.
Monday for sure, and then Thursday.
Okay.
Heather,
Thanks,
Monday
Heather.
and Thursday. Thanks, Heather.
Yep.
All
Awesome.
right. We really
Okay.
appreciate
Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.